Doria Raglan has said enough is enough. I'm moving out of Montecito for good.
So I went online to see what was new with Uncle Harry and Auntie Meghan, and I couldn't find a thing. I would have thought she'd have at least popped up in a tampon commercial by now.
Trying to make ourselves into a brand just turned us into products. We don't need to be a brand, do we?
I am so excited because one of my closest friends is coming over to help me cook today. Shit, what's her name? Line?
I would do way less salt than that. Let me just do it, Jen.
It's Marcy.
Whatever.
It's important we do this ourselves, Harry, and not live off your family.
I agree. We'll just have to find a way to make £50 billion on our own.
If it's truly what we want, then we really can get away from it all. No more magazines and Netflix shows. We really can live a normal life. Yes, I'm sure you agree, darling.
It happened just past midnight, but the neighbors were already awake. The shouting wasn't loud enough to be legible, but it had a certain rhythm. Tight, clipped, panicked. One staffer later described it as like watching a brand die in real time. Meghan Markle had just fired her entire PR team. No ceremony, no carefully worded statement, just screaming slammed laptops and an Uber XL called to the private Montecito gates.
Pretty brutal, actually, because Radar Online have reported that Meghan Markle has now been abandoned by her mom after the Duchess begged, "Don't leave me."
Rumor has it one of them didn't even get a chance to pack, just left the house with a tablet, a phone, and whatever dignity they could salvage. And the reason? A video. Not just any video. The now infamous berry-sucking cocktail clip, which Meghan allegedly insisted would be a soft reset. A playful glam, slightly cheeky reintroduction to Instagram that would humanize her and launch her authentic era. Instead, it sparked a full-blown firestorm. Within hours of posting, the comments section had gone nuclear. Viewers called it cringe, others said she looked unhinged, and the worst blow of all, that word that now haunts every Markle social campaign. Desperate. Desperate for attention. Desperate for relevance. Desperate to prove that she still got it, whatever it even means anymore.
It wasn't a great reflection on Harry because you just are like, does this guy even have a job? Does he just sit on the couch and play video games and smoke a bowl? I mean, question mark, who knows?
Insiders say the clip was pre-recorded days before Independence Day, but Meghan allegedly insisted on framing it like it was live and spontaneous. And here's the kicker. She reportedly demanded the caption mention she was wearing Princess Diana's bracelet. That wasn't an accident. That was strategy. Her team begged her to take a different angle. She overruled them, and then came the numbers. Not the public likes or comments, those can be padded. What reportedly broke the back of her crisis team was the backend data, the sharp spike in unfollows, the eye-watering engagement drop, and most damning of all, the sentiment analysis from third-party trackers. 82% negative, one source claimed. And that was before the meme cycle started. By 9 that evening, the emergency Slack channel had gone quiet. Staff were texting each other privately, some scrambling to draft resignation letters. Others just waited, watching the seconds tick by. No one wanted to be the first to jump, but they didn't have to. Meghan pulled the plug herself.
She might have started shouting at her like she has done with other staff, and her mother thinks, this is enough. She can't talk to me like that. Who does she think she is?
Around 11:45, the official word came through, allegedly from Meghan's own mouth, via voice memo. This isn't working. You're all dismissed. I'll figure it out myself. Cold, flat, surgical. What happened next was worse. Within minutes of the firing, someone inside leaked an internal message that had been circulating for weeks. It detailed the breakdown between Meghan and her now former PR lead, allegedly over her refusal to listen to any advice that didn't support the narrative. The message paints a portrait of a woman cornered, obsessed with optics, and hell-bent on forcing her public image to fit an idea that no longer existed. She's not selling reality, the message read. She's selling a fantasy from 5 years ago. But that wasn't even the most shocking part. No, what came next was something far more damaging. A second leak. This time it wasn't just words, it was a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet, let's just say it proves the image rehab was already failing long before the berries hit her lips. The video should have been harmless. A breezy little cocktail moment, shot in soft light, with Meghan dressed down but camera ready, berry in hand giggling beside a stylist friend, trying to give off that curated chaos vibe, like she was just one of the girls, not the disgraced Duchess fighting to claw her way back into public favor. But what came across instead, the tongue, the overperformance, the knowing glance at the camera, that exaggerated suck of a raspberry like she was auditioning for a role nobody cast her in, and the internet did not miss a beat. Within hours, the footage had made its way to Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit threads with captions like, "The Dorian Gray era begins, and she's lost the plot."
And Harry himself is over here, not really with anything to do. So their, I guess, reaction to this sort of meandering that they've done for the past 5 years without real purpose except for give me money because I need money, is to set up a cosplay royal court.
Some compared it to a low-rent influencer meltdown. Others said it was Meghan's version of shaving her head and smashing a car window with an umbrella. But one common word kept showing up again and again: unhinged. It wasn't just the video, it was the context. She'd posted it right before July 4th weekend, claiming through very obvious planted messaging that it was filmed live and that she was wearing Princess Diana's bracelet as a tribute. A subtle nod, right? Wrong. To critics, it read like a calculated tug at the one card she still thinks has power, Diana's legacy. But instead of evoking sympathy, it triggered pure backlash, and here's where things got messier. According to insiders, Meghan's now imploded PR team had explicitly warned her not to mention Diana in this campaign. One allegedly told her point blank, "The bracelet angle feels manipulative, it's going to backfire." Meghan reportedly responded with a shrug and said, "It'll be fine. It always works." Except this time it didn't, because what followed was a wave of satire so brutal it drowned any chance at spin. TikTokers reenacted the Barry moment in front of dollar store tiaras. A trending meme compared her to a real housewife of Montecito, and one parody account posted side-by-sides of Meghan in a sloppily photoshopped Dorian Gray painting, captioned "filter off." More troubling than the mockery, though, was the silence from her inner circle. Not a single A-lister reposted the video. Not one Hollywood pal hit like or commented with a supportive emoji. And that silence? It was loud. According to a leaked exchange between two former Archewell advisors, Meghan spent the next 24 hours frantically calling publicists across town. One source claims she tried at least 3 rival firms, none of whom would take the meeting. "She's radioactive right now," the source said. "No one wants to touch her brand until the Netflix contract is sorted." And that's when the strategy fully collapsed.
I want to remind you that all of this that they've experienced, all the negative headlines, publicity, everything, is mostly self-inflicted.
Because behind the scenes, Netflix had already started whispering about cutting their renewal budget down to bare bones, and without PR to handle the damage, Meghan would have to pitch herself raw. Behind the walls of the Netflix boardroom, Meghan Markle's name still gets brought up, but not with the reverence it once did. According to one source close to internal discussions, it's not a matter of if the streamer is slashing her deal, it's how deep the cuts will go. The golden couple that once promised a new era of storytelling has turned into a strategic headache, too famous to quietly drop, but too toxic to invest in at full force. The phrase insiders are allegedly using, "burn the bridge while still standing on it." There was a time when the Sussex name guaranteed clicks. Their initial docuseries made headlines, racked up global streams, and gave Netflix a short-term victory. But that goodwill didn't last. Meghan's animated project Pearl was scrapped before it reached production. The live-to-lead series barely made a blip on analytics, and Harry's Heart of Invictus, while meaningful, wasn't the cultural moment Netflix hoped for. But nothing soured the relationship quite like what's happening now. According to a well-placed tip, Netflix execs were blindsided by Meghan's latest attempts to rehab her image via social media. They don't like surprises, the source claimed, especially ones that make them look like they're backing a brand in crisis. The real turning point came after the Barry video exploded for all the wrong reasons. With the backlash in full swing, the Netflix comms team allegedly requested a crisis response plan from Meghan's camp. What they got instead was radio silence. Why? Because by that point, her entire PR team had either quit or been fired. And that's when panic set in. Meghan had a pitch scheduled, a big one. It was meant to be her comeback proposal, a new docuseries concept, a potential podcast revival, and a lifestyle brand tie-in that would allegedly funnel viewers straight into product purchases. Think Martha Stewart meets Oprah meets Meghan. But without a PR team to workshop the pitch, design the visuals, or coach the messaging, it fell on her shoulders. And according to one exec who sat in the room that day, she was rattled. She tried to act confident, but it was clear she'd prepped alone. No polish, no flow, just buzzwords. One concept she reportedly pitched, a spiritual reinvention journey, where she visits wellness retreats and interviews herself, literally. Split screen, 2 Meghans. The room fell silent. Someone allegedly asked, would this be satire, or she didn't get the joke.
This woman is a born manipulator. The Netflix thing, she doesn't do the work. She don't make the jams. It's all made for her.
Another exec described the vibe as sad theater, an actress trying to recreate her own mystique without realizing the spotlight had already moved on. After the meeting, follow-up emails were cordial but cold. As of now, there's no green light, only whispers of a possible 1-episode test, if she can repackage the idea in a way that won't damage the platform's brand. And here's where things get even more brutal. Meghan was reportedly told point blank that future renewals would be contingent on improved public sentiment. In other words, get the people back on your side or there's no more deal. But with her credibility collapsing and the press turning sharper by the day, how exactly is she planning to do that? If the Barry video was the match, the As Ever jam scandal was the gasoline. And when it ignited, it blew a hole straight through what was left of Meghan's brand. At first, it looked like just another overpriced, sold-out product drop. Tiny jars of fruit spread with royal-adjacent flair. A little bougie, sure, but nothing new. Fans clicked to buy. The site looked polished. Everything was glossy, curated, on brand, until it wasn't. Within minutes of launch, buyers started flooding forums with the same complaint. They placed an order, got charged, and only afterward were told the jam was out of stock. No visible sold-out notice, no warning at checkout, just a bright, bubbly confirmation, and then silence. But this wasn't just about disappointment over breakfast condiments. What caught the attention of watchdogs and eventually private eye was what happened behind the scenes. Because even though there was no jam, the website still collected full personal data: names, emails, phone numbers, physical addresses, IP tracking, and most damning of all, behavioral data. What kind of device you used, how long you spent on the page, even what time of day you shopped. That's not a glitch. That's intentional. According to tech experts quoted in the report, the setup mimicked dark pattern techniques, marketing tactics that mislead users into providing data under false pretenses. And unless customers specifically opted out, As Ever's privacy policy made it clear. All that info could be sold to advertisers or stored for future use. Let that sink in. A duchess selling artisanal jam was allegedly harvesting and monetizing consumer data like a Silicon Valley startup. And unlike King Charles's line of preserves, which funnels proceeds to charity, Meghan's brand has no such transparency. The backlash was swift. Within 48 hours, the site's trust rating nosedived. Several watchdog forums flagged it as potentially exploitative, and in the biggest shock of all, longtime Meghan defenders in the press went silent. Even People magazine didn't run their usual soft focus piece. But the most explosive revelation came from a former staffer who spoke anonymously to a journalist. She knew the jam wasn't in stock, but she wanted the buzz, and she wanted the emails. That list was the real product. That quote spread like wildfire. And now, legal experts are starting to weigh in. One British consumer advocate suggested this could qualify as deceptive marketing under both UK and California law, especially if the intent to collect data was prioritized over fulfilling sales. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't just seen as desperate, she was being labeled dangerous. But here's the kicker. None of this came as a surprise to her former PR team.
That is not hard work. Hard work is get up in the morning, get to 7 o'clock, get into a factory or a shop and working for 10 hours on your feet, coming home knackered. That's not what happens to her.
And still being a mom.
That is not what happens to her.
According to a leaked resignation note from one of her ex-publicists, the data collection strategy had sparked fierce internal debate. We raised concerns, it reads. They were ignored. Everything was about building the list. The brand didn't care how it looked, only how it converted. That resignation happened 3 weeks before the video scandal, and if Meghan thought she could weather the backlash without them, she was wrong. Because next came the rosé. And when even wine turns on you, you know it's over. You can fake a smile, filter a photo, even script a documentary, but you can't fake good wine. And Meghan's As Ever rosé, let's just say it didn't pass the sniff test. At first, the rollout followed the usual Markle playbook: soft launch, hand-picked press kits, and glowing early reviews from outlets with suspiciously cozy ties to her talent agency. InStyle was among the first to gush. According to their writer, the rosé was dangerously smooth, refreshing, and so divine that an entire bottle mysteriously vanished in one night without a single hangover. Seriously? No hangover? Critics weren't buying it. Even InStyle's language felt rehearsed. One paragraph read more like a sponsored post than an objective review, praising the bespoke blend and delicate minerality as if lifted straight from the product copy. And then came the dead giveaway, the quote that claimed As Ever isn't going to release a product unless it's good. That line alone had social media roasting the magazine. Because let's be honest, by that point even Meghan's jam had more credibility than her wine. But while InStyle sipped from their gifted bottle and typed out puff prose, the Daily Mail was doing something different. They bought the wine with their own money, and what they published was brutal. They described the flavor as bland, watery, and shockingly acidic. Some testers said it tasted cheap. One even likened it to a sad glass of wedding reception table wine. But the worst part wasn't the taste, it was the disconnect. The label promised elegance, the bottle promised refinement, but the experience left a burning sensation in the throat and a bitter taste in the press. Here's where it gets revealing. Meghan strategically skipped sending bottles to outlets she couldn't control. Only friendlies got freebies, only allies got early access, and everyone else left to pay full price for a wine that reportedly cost less than $5 to produce per bottle. Insiders now claim the rosé was a white-labeled wine, an off-the-shelf product Meghan simply rebranded. According to one former distributor familiar with the logistics, she didn't create anything. She just slapped her label on someone else's bottle and jacked up the price. That price? Close to $30 plus shipping. And it gets worse. Reviewers who complained online say they received no customer service follow-up. Some even said their credit cards were double charged or billed international fees they weren't warned about. The word scam started creeping into TikTok hashtags. So what did Meghan do? She reposted the InStyle review on her brand's official Instagram, as if nothing had happened. But something had. Because this wasn't just about bad wine, it was about bad faith. A growing sense that Meghan wasn't building a brand, she was building a facade. One curated review at a time. And while the wine backlash could have been the headline of the week, it got pushed aside because Doria walked out, and Meghan's "Don't leave me" plea might have been her most honest moment yet. It was supposed to be a quiet exit, just Doria Ragland and 2 modest suitcases, heading down the Montecito driveway in the early morning mist. But the silence didn't last long, because according to insiders, Meghan's voice pierced through it. "Don't leave me," she reportedly cried out. Not once, not quietly, but again and again, loud enough for the staff to freeze where they stood.
This also follows all the stories about her bullying staff over here in the UK, which is unresolved. NDAs stopped all that stuff coming out, but she bullied people in a very unpleasant way over here.
After nearly 18 months of cohabitation, Meghan's mother was gone, moved out, done. And it wasn't just a mother heading back to her own life, it was a stabilizer leaving the chaos behind. Let's rewind. Doria had moved into Meghan and Harry's mansion during a particularly rough chapter. Netflix was wobbly, Spotify had collapsed, and Harry was allegedly leaning heavily on his mother-in-law for emotional support. Multiple reports described Doria as the true adult in the house, someone who grounded both of them when things spun out. But slowly that piece began to unravel. At first it was subtle. Doria looked tense in public appearances, stiff during the Live to Lead rollout, quiet in promotional posts for With Love Meghan. Then came the Beyoncé concert incident. Meghan told a story during a podcast appearance about how her mom went to see Queen Bey without her, and without telling her. She tried to make it sound casual, but the subtext, ice cold. That was the first public sign that something had cracked. Then came the Tina Knowles interview. When Meghan's comments about her mother took on a new tone, observers noted that she sounded more passive-aggressive than affectionate. Rumors swirled that Meghan had begun relying on Doria more like a live-in nanny than a guest, leaving the kids in her care while jetting off for brand meetings and product shoots. According to Radar Online, Doria had finally had enough. Sources claim she felt used, emotionally drained, and fed up with the constant cycle of drama. One insider said she told Meghan point blank, "I'm not your staff, I'm your mother." But it was Meghan's alleged reaction that stunned everyone. She begged, she wept. She reportedly blocked the front door at one point. "Don't leave me," she repeated, clinging to the one person who had never walked away before. And yet, Doria walked. Since then, things inside the Montecito mansion have grown darker. Staff say the energy shifted. Harry has been moody, withdrawn. Meghan more erratic than usual, micromanaging social content one minute, ghosting calls the next. And without Doria buffering the mood, the cracks are showing faster. One aide reportedly told friends, "When Doria left, it felt like the grown-up left the room. And what's left is 2 people who have no idea how to fix what they broke." But Meghan's not just losing her mother's emotional support. She's losing the one person who could still make her seem relatable. And now she's got no one to hold the illusion together. For a brief moment, Harry thought he could fix it. Word leaked that the Duke of Sussex was planning a solo return to the United Kingdom. No Meghan, no Netflix cameras, no Arcuel agenda. Just Harry, allegedly hoping to reconcile with the royals behind closed doors. But insiders say what he got instead was the coldest silence yet. Sources close to the palace claim Harry's team floated the idea quietly, reaching out to key figures to see if a short private visit could be arranged, perhaps to coincide with an upcoming charity event or a discreet moment with the king. But it didn't land. Not with Charles, not with Camilla, and certainly not with William. Because here's what Harry didn't seem to grasp. No one has forgotten that Anderson Cooper interview. The one where he called Camilla dangerous. The one where he claimed she was planting stories. The one where he made it sound like she'd clawed her way to the crown by cutting others down, and all while trying to rehab her own image. That clip? It resurfaced recently, went viral again after Queen Camilla walked into Wimbledon and was met with rapturous applause. Some say the crowd's response was a subtle message. "We see you, Camilla. We believe you." And in that same breath, the public seemed to fully turn on Harry's narrative. The quiet woman he'd painted as a manipulator is now being celebrated for her grace, her loyalty, and her resilience. And Meghan, nowhere in sight. But it wasn't just public perception. Palace aides reportedly intercepted the visit request before it reached the king. Camilla, still recovering from Harry's attacks, allegedly made her position clear, not while he's still trashing the family in print. And with Charles's health still fragile, no one was taking chances. William, for his part, didn't even pretend to entertain the idea. One insider says he was blunt. Harry's made his choices. Let him live with them. And so Harry's plan to heal the rift solo quietly evaporated. He wasn't told no, because he wasn't told anything. He was simply ignored. The tension back in Montecito only deepened.
Harry and Meghan are the problem. And while we're going to go over all the people that they've hired, just as a great reminder, the couple have hired plenty of professionals before.
Meghan, already spiraling after the Doria walkout and the wine backlash, allegedly didn't react well to the news. One former staffer said she viewed Harry's solo trip as a betrayal, proof that he was still seeking royal validation. She thought they'd moved on. She thought they were the power couple now. This was a major crack in that image. And while Harry remained in California, publicly grounded but emotionally adrift, more headlines rolled in, more ridicule, more silence from friends. He may have thought a solo visit would prove his independence, but all it really proved was that at least for now, he has nowhere to go. At this point, calling it a PR problem would be an understatement. Meghan Markle's brand isn't just in crisis, it's become a full-blown graveyard for publicists, and the industry's starting to take notice. If you talk to anyone in the LA comms scene, they'll tell you the same thing. Meghan is what they call unmanageable. Too many handlers, too many last-minute changes, too much control without strategy. And now, word is, no one wants to touch her. Let's take a look at the body count. It started with Sunshine Sachs, the high-powered firm that once represented Leonardo DiCaprio and Ben Affleck. Meghan brought them on for post-royal rebranding, hoping they could massage her image into something sleek, global, and charitable. But after mounting rumors of unpaid invoices and conflicting messaging, they were quietly cut loose. Reports claim she owed them over $2 million when they split. Then came the Arkewell shuffle. Comms directors rotated in and out like interns. One barely lasted 6 months. Another left after being reduced to what insiders called an emoji consultant, someone who got screamed at over tone in Instagram captions. But none of them lasted, not one. And now the most recent mass firing? It wasn't just about the Barry video, that was the trigger, but the rot ran deeper. According to someone who allegedly worked inside the house, there were constant screaming matches about narrative direction. Meghan reportedly wanted total control over every word, every image, every headline. She'd send 3 a.m. voice notes contradicting decisions she'd made at noon, the source said. It was chaos, and if you pushed back, you were gone. Another ex-staffer described their final straw, a data analytics report showing that Meghan's sentiment score had tanked after the Rosé launch. Instead of adjusting the strategy, she reportedly dismissed the report as jealous energy. And it gets darker. A resignation letter now making quiet rounds in industry circles allegedly warns of possible FTC scrutiny. Why? Because of how As Ever reportedly collected consumer data during that now infamous jam debacle. The letter outlines internal warnings ignored by higher-ups and claims the brand prioritized engagement metrics over compliance. In short, they wanted names, emails, and habits, even if no product was actually available. So now, Meghan stands alone. No comms team, no crisis manager, just a branded Instagram page and a growing list of blacklisted professionals who will never work with her again. Insiders say she's begun reaching out to smaller boutique firms, the kind that specialize in influencer cleanups. But even there, doors are slamming shut. We'd need hazard pay, joked one agency rep. The perception? Meghan doesn't want PR help. She wants PR servants, and that distinction is costing her everything. There's a new phrase floating around in entertainment circles, one that's being whispered about Meghan Markle's recent flurry of projects, brand liquidation. At first glance, it looks like a businesswoman getting to work, a new rosé launch, a luxury jam drop, and talk of books, skincare, even home decor. But dig just a little deeper, and the picture becomes far more chaotic. Because the real question on everyone's mind isn't what she's selling, it's why is she suddenly selling everything?
People at high levels who have worked for Bill Gates, Patagonia, all these sorts of things. And yet none of them have been successful. The common denominator in everything here is Harry and Meghan.
Insiders say the answer is simple: cash flow. The Spotify fallout hit hard. Her Archetypes podcast didn't just underperform, it allegedly came with a messy paper trail, last-minute rewrites, missed deadlines, exhausted producers. Rumors swirled that production staff were leaving sessions in tears, and that Meghan would scrap entire episodes days before upload. And when Spotify cut the cord, it wasn't just the end of a paycheck, it was the beginning of a credibility spiral. Then came Netflix. As we covered, her renewal hangs by a thread. And with that uncertainty looming, Meghan's attention shifted. Suddenly it was about product, tangible, purchasable, Markle-branded goods. But here's where it gets weird. One former Arkewell employee claims Meghan is in pitch mode all day, every day. Wine, jam, matcha, wellness retreats, children's books, clothing lines, you name it, she's floating it. And not in a slow, strategic way. It's panicked, scrambled, as if she's throwing ideas at the wall, praying something sticks. She's trying to build an empire overnight, the source said, but she's building it out of wet sand. Meanwhile, Montecito doesn't come cheap. Property taxes alone run into 6 figures annually. Add in security, staffing, private travel, and the upkeep of a 15-bathroom mansion. And it's easy to see why even a multi-million-dollar deal doesn't stretch far when the income dries up. And Meghan knows it. That's allegedly why she's been quietly meeting with unscripted television producers, some of the same ones behind shows like Selling Sunset and The Real Housewives. One insider claims she's testing the waters for a potential lifestyle docuseries. Nothing confirmed, nothing greenlit. But it's being discussed, because if the royal sheen has worn off and the highbrow Hollywood deals aren't biting, there's still one arena that rewards chaos: reality TV. And here's the kicker: she wouldn't be the first to take that path. Celebrity after celebrity has pivoted to cameras in the house reinventions when traditional media shut the door. The only problem? That move comes with a steep price, total exposure, no filters, no polish, just raw, messy reality. And after the berry sucking, the jam backlash, the rosé divide, and the Doria walkout, one has to wonder, does Meghan have anything left to hide behind? Because if this isn't a carefully planned empire, it's a crash landing in slow motion. By now, even the most loyal defenders are starting to squirm. The headlines are piling up, the product launches are flopping, the PR team has vanished, and Meghan Markle, once hailed as the fresh face of modern royalty, is alone in a crumbling castle built on borrowed glitter. And it's not just that the public has turned, it's that the spell is broken. Behind the scenes, Meghan is reportedly rehearsing for one last chance to fix it all. According to a former aide, she's preparing another big pitch, this time for a solo documentary she wants Netflix to consider. The concept? A stripped-down, vulnerable version of herself. No Harry, no palaces, just Meghan, alone in front of the camera, reflecting on the fallout and reclaiming the narrative. One insider called it her last card. She's reportedly been practicing talking points in the mirror. Stories about motherhood, ambition, mental health, trying to strike the balance between sincerity and control. But according to those who've seen these private rehearsals, something's off. She doesn't look grounded, one person said. She looks exhausted, like someone trying to convince herself the audience still cares. And that's the haunting part. Because no amount of soft focus lighting or tearful confessions can reverse what's happened. The narrative has overtaken the narrator. On social media, the tide has become merciless. Former fans are calling out hypocrisy. Comment sections once filled with hearts and yes queen energy are now flooded with side eyes and eye roll emojis. Even the supportive press outlets are pulling back, quietly, carefully. And the brand implosion hashtag? It's trending again. Industry experts say her next moves will be critical. A single wrong headline, a poorly timed post, another failed launch. It could solidify the perception that Meghan is no longer a lifestyle icon, just a cautionary tale. Because at this point, the fairy tale has reversed. She isn't the princess escaping the palace. She's the mogul who walked out, tried to build her own kingdom, and found herself without allies, without cover, and with very few cards left to play. Even Harry seems subdued, withdrawn, and as Meghan pushes forward with damage control, one thing becomes clear. If she still wants the spotlight, she'll be standing in it alone. And yet, maybe that's the most honest image of all. Not a duchess, not a disruptor, just a woman staring down the collapse of her curated life, trying to salvage what's left before the final curtain falls. So what do you think? Is Meghan Markle still in control of her narrative, or has the narrative finally overtaken her? Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.